Hi, Kim. How are you today?
Hi, Jillian. I'm great. How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, I'm good. Happy New Year to you. I'm excited to have you here today. So, why don't we start with you telling us about yourself and your business?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Kim Breiland. I'm a certified health and life coach. I also recently launched the Gumption Life, which is an online health and wellness blog and shop. I believe that health is wealth and not something that only the wealthy should be able to achieve. Um, so, in addition to one to one and group coaching, I offer affordable resources that can be used to strengthen women's health and wellness goals.
That sounds awesome. So, I'm really curious because I know you teach this concept known as the three C's. So, what are the three C's and where does this concept come from?
I know it kind of sounds like I don't know, a Kool-Aid drink or something, right? Um, it was just an easy way for me to remember it and for others to remember it. That's basically what it boils down to. But it stands for comparing, competing, and climbing the invisible ladder. It was the idea actually came to me quite a while ago. I was on a walk with my girlfriend, and she and I were talking, and she had been sharing a story about something that had happened to her, and she was kind of feeling down about it, and I could just sense that she was just lacking in her confidence, and she was comparing herself in the particular situation that she was talking about. And so we talked about it some more on our walk, and then it sort of evolved into talking about the way women in general can fall into the trap of comparing and then competing and so like it sort of expanded from there. It's not like in that exact moment it was, that it came to me, but I thought about it after the fact, after she and I had walked, and then when I was working with clients and things like that, it was almost like I started to see a pattern, and so when we compare, that sort of leads to competing, right? When we
Mhm.
start to compare ourselves to others. And so then the competing, and competing can be in two different forms. It can be in sort of a way that reduces our self-esteem, or it can actually come across in a way that is combative, more of a intense competition force. And so when I started to see this pattern working with clients and then thinking about the walk I had with my friend, it sort of just came to me that I said, I said to myself, like, everybody is always trying to climb this invisible ladder. They're always comparing, competing, and it really takes joy from our life, and it really compounds on itself. So if we kind of fall into that trap, we're doing ourselves a giant disservice, and we're going to have a more difficult time achieving the things that we truly desire, that we're entirely capable of. So that's kind of how it evolved.
Yes, because I think we do that in everything health, business, motherhood. We look at everybody else, compare, think we need to compete and be perfect, and climb that social ladder so that we're seen as that way. So,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And also to go further with patterns, it's like, women will fall into two different patterns where they'll either fall into like a compare and despair pattern, or we get into a more combative, as if everything's a competition and we have to put this tough exterior, or that we're better, and we have to put other women down in order to to maintain or build the confidence. And so it's upsetting, instead of, just cheering each other on and really feeling confident in who we are and what we're good at in our zone of genius, or whatever phrase you want to use. We fall mostly into that compare, compete, and then the climbing the invisible ladder is something that's sort of conscious and subconscious. It we're ingrained at such a young age to achieve, but we're not taught how to enjoy what we're living in right now, because chances are what you're living in right now you used to be trying to achieve. And so that's sort of, like I said, that's where it came from, and it's what I really try to help my clients with, realizing we're always going to want to achieve more. That's healthy and normal, but it's also, important to enjoy what you're achieving now, and then also to have faith in yourself, and that what and who you are is perfectly wonderful.
yes. take time to celebrate how far you've come and where you are right in this moment. Yes.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So most of my listeners are podcast hosts or they want to start a podcast. Do you have some examples of how the three C's might be holding them back from achieving their goals?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll start with comparing. So comparing could look like imposter syndrome. We hear a lot about that right now,
Mhm.
a lot of examples of that out in the world, and it is a definite thing. I think social media contributes to that. It's just we're inundated with examples of things in our niche or what we're trying to do, and chances are when we decide to do something, we're going to see it everywhere. And that's perfectly normal. But that also will cause imposter syndrome. Also, failure to launch, that famous phrase, right? So many times we have the drive, we have the thoughts, we have the passion, but we just can't launch it. There's something holding us back. There's fear, there's perfectionism, there's the three C's, like comparing and competing, things like that are going to hold us back. Procrastination, that's usually a sign of either fear or perfectionism at work. And that's entirely normal, but there are steps and strategies you can do to overcome it. So that's kind of what comparing will look like. You're too busy looking at what others are doing and thinking you have to be exactly like that instead of staying true to who you are. So what happens is that flicker of hope that ignited in your brain that made you want to do the thing you want to do, like start a podcast. If you are too busy trying to be like other people, you are not going to show up as your authentic self. And so that's where the competing comes in. If you're trying to match the tone, the content, the vibe of another podcaster, you are not showing up to the world as yourself and delivering the content that you originally had the idea for. People want to know fresh perspectives. They want to know fresh ideas. They don't want to know something they've already heard somewhere else. So I think that's the big hurdle to overcome to get out of that 3C trap, is to know you need to spend time focusing on your story or your purpose that you want to portray to the world, or that you want to get out in the world, serve them and give them that valuable information in your own way. And so a lot of times I think, not just in the podcasting world, but in all over, in every role you can think of, people are trying to emulate someone else, which is a compliment. But then really what they're just doing is more of the same, and nobody wants that. So I think it's important when you're starting out, sorry, excuse me, to think of what matters to you, keep your eye on the goal that you're trying to achieve, and then appreciate what you have done right now. So in terms of climbing the invisible ladder, instead of looking ahead saying I need to release one podcast a week like somebody else in my niche, praise yourself for the fact that you started. You bought the microphone, you bought the equipment, you planned out your first maybe 4 podcast episodes. You're focus on every step you take, because it's a step forward in the direction that you're meant to be going. And everybody was in your place at one time or another. So never compare yourself or compete with somebody else. They have a different story. They have a different set of circumstances. They had a different vision, possibly. You don't know what somebody else has and how they got there. And so it's really important, if you really want to reach your goal of being a successful podcaster, you have to make sure that you're appreciating every step of the journey, because nobody ever said great things were easy. If they were, if it was easy, everybody would be a famous podcaster, or a famous influencer, or a CEO of a big corporate company.
Mhm.
Success is not easy. And so, when we fall into the 3C's trap, we're doing ourselves a disservice, and we are absolutely slowing down the progress that we could make towards our goal.
Yes. And podcast is a long-term game. So you have to stick with it and just know that eventually you'll get to where you want to be. And as I always tell my clients, like, Yes, there's a million podcasts that talk about what you're talking about, but they're not you. Like how you say it, your view on it is going to resonate with the people who need it the most.
I couldn't agree more. That was beautifully said. And I just thought of another C for my three C's. So maybe it's going to be four C's now. But you made me think of consistency, right?
Yes.
That is the
Mhm.
number one reason somebody succeeds, I feel. You know, there are millions of uber intelligent people in this world, but if you're not consistent, you're not going to achieve. So at some point, intelligence is not the only stake in the game. You know, you have to have the drive, the vision, and the consistency, because consistency, I promise you, pays off. Everybody I've ever encountered in my life, the most successful ones are the ones that didn't fear failure. They had an open mindset. They weren't fixed. They weren't closed off to being told they did something wrong, or that they didn't do it as well as somebody else, or that they weren't, they were lacking in some way. They were open to criticism. They were accepting of failure, and they know a mistake is actually literally scientifically proven to help your mind grow. Because when you make that mistake, it's going to be a new neural pathway that allows you to forge ahead, and you won't make that mistake again. And so, like I said, that four C's now, consistency is so key.
Yes, exactly. And consistency leads to trust because when your audience, your clients know that you're going to be there when you say you're going to be there and you show up every time, they're going to learn to trust and say, oh, she does what she says she will do.
Absolutely, 100%. And I like that. Trust is a big. I think that's a hard thing. I think it's an important thing to earn. It's a difficult thing to earn, and you can have the most sincere heart and goal, and want to serve people in whatever particular niche you're in. But if you lack that consistency, the people aren't going to show up for you.
Exactly. Now, I know you said a few ways while you were talking, but do you have any other ways of how we can start to overcome these three C's? Now, four.
Right. I get four C's now. Um, that's so funny. So I think the number one most important thing, and the thing that I tell my clients to do, is to acknowledge the feelings of the three C's. Know that they're there, because the first step is always building awareness. That's how we reduce the behavior, the undesirable behavior that we're looking to stop, is to have awareness. So acknowledge the three, or maybe you're only doing one of the three or two of the three, and then move on. Don't act on the feelings, and don't dwell on them. That's definitely step one. The next step would be to focus on your strengths. So something that I try to get my clients to do, and make it truly a daily practice, it only takes about 5 minutes, is to sit and write down in the morning what they're thankful for. So sort of like a quick gratitude practice, and really engage in affirmations, or at least writing about your strengths. Because if we commit them to paper, and we actually allow our brains to think about what we're good at and what we love about ourselves, it naturally builds our confidence, and it sort of creates this calmness in ourselves to show up in our authentic selves, in our authentic way. And people are racing through life right now, and so I feel as though it doesn't necessarily have to be in the morning, could be right before bed. But if you can start to engage in that small habit of daily gratitude, and sort of character strength building, looking inside yourself and saying, I'm really good at this, whether it be, whatever your niche may be, and really committing yourself to the fact that I'm going to build my confidence from within, because then we know it's going to shine on the outside. And so after we acknowledge the feelings, and after we focus on our strengths and start to build that in a regular practice, in a regular way, then it sort of automatically unleashes the power of contentment. And that is something I think that many of the most successful people at whatever it is they're doing, they have this sort of internal sense of contentment. They are proud of who they are, what they've lived through, where they've gotten, and they are excited about where they're still going. They're enjoying the moment, but they're excited for the future. And so I think finding happiness at each level, as you progress through the levels, is so important and a great way to either overcome the three C's or avoid the trap of the three C's.
Yes. So that you can get to that final C, contentment.
Exactly. And, oh my gosh, now are we up to 5 C's? Oh my.
Yes.
I think we're just building, man. I think we're at 5 now. So yeah, it's like you have to get rid of the comparing, competing, climbing the invisible ladder so that you can actually be content and have consistency.
Yes.
Brilliant, you're a genius.
You're the one saying it. I'm just pointing out that C's are all around you.
Exactly. Now we're really going to sound like the high C drink.
So
that's great.
Yes. So I do love that. I do that every morning. I write I am statements, especially if I have something I'm nervous about. I'm always like, I am confident. And I make sure I say it so that hopefully I'll believe it when the time comes.
Believe it now, know it in your heart. I actually started when my daughter was, she was young. She was probably 5 or 6. And before bed every night we would read. And then I would tell her before she fell asleep, I would say, repeat after me. I am calm, I am confident, and I can do anything. And we would say that every night before bed. And then when my son came along, we say it now with him. And I think, it's just a very important thing because it's a rhetoric that the more you can build up inside of you, the more it's sure to come true on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that you do that with your kids. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. So I know your mission is to help your clients live a life of gumption. So what does living a life of gumption mean to you?
Oh, this is one of my favorite questions. A lot of people are like, where did this word come from? It's been it's a word that's just a personal favorite of mine since my kids were very little. I'm not going to bore anybody with the story, but it's a word I have always loved and I feel it's unique. And so it stands for an attitude of courage, boldness, and audacity. And I think it's a great way of addressing or looking at your life's goals in a way that understands fear is common and that obstacles are inevitable, but that if we can just forge through and have that courage and that boldness to say, you know what, this is what I'm going for and I'm going to achieve it. To me, that's what having gumption means. And that, it looks different for everyone, obviously. Like, one person may be very focused on career, another person may be very focused on having a child, another person might be focused on a better work-life balance. I mean, the list goes on and on as to what what personally each person is trying to achieve. But I think if we frame our minds to accept life's challenges and you maintain the desire and the determination to craft the life you truly desire, it's possible if you believe in gumption, if you believe in the consistency and the desire and the determination, you're truly going to achieve what you wish. And that's what living the gumption life is.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So this next little segment, I just like to do a few fun questions just to ask because I love to read and listen to new podcasts, obviously. So what is your favorite mindset book?
Well, first of all, fun is my favorite F word, so I love these questions.
Is that C?
I was so excited. I was like, which book do I put? Because like you, I do nothing but read and listen to podcasts. But if I had to pick a favorite mindset book, definitely Grit by Angela Duckworth. I don't know if you've read it.
No, I haven't.
Amazing. It's all about basically everything I just said in what a gumption life is. I kind of feel you have to have grit to live the gumption life and to have the things you desire. And life is not easy. I mean, people really want to make it easy. They really do. But I feel if people could just frame their minds to understand that it takes grit and determination to live happy most of the time, and so her book is fantastic. I couldn't recommend it more.
My list just keeps getting longer and longer the more I ask that question. Yes.
Yep.
So I know you said you like affirmations, especially with your clients. So, what is one of your affirmations that really helps you?
Yeah, Lord knows I have a whole list. But my favorite is I dwell on the rewards of taking a risk.
Ooh,
So
I like that.
that is my
Yes.
favorite. Um, it was scary as hell to give up my, excuse my French, to give up my tenure track teaching position many years ago. And I've been through a lot of health struggles. I've kind of come out on the other side of them very, thankfully. That's the whole reason the Gumption Life is here. But I think some of us stay unhappy because we're complacent and we think that there's absolutely no other option in life. And like I say to my clients, there is always an option in life. The problem is you may not like uh, the journey it takes to get there, the risks that it takes to get there. And so, yeah, I dwell on the rewards of taking a risk because, for in my personal experience, it was a tough road, but man, the rewards have been just unbelievable.
That's amazing. I love that quote.
Thank you.
And the last one is, what is your favorite podcast?
So, because I'm in the health and wellness industry, I kind of binge the doctor's pharmacy all the time. It's FARM, not the traditional way we spell pharmacy. It's with Dr. Mark Hyman, who is a very well known functional medicine doctor. And I just find him fascinating. He has amazing guests on. I really like to look at health. After my own health struggles, I like to look at health really outside of the box. Western medicine traditionally is, not disease prevention. We're, more of like
Mhm.
dealing with the disease and pill popping and all that. And so I'm really, I don't judge anybody who takes medicine or anything like that. I myself have to take medicine for a thyroid condition, but they really give alternative solutions to building your body up from the inside out. And so I just love it. And then the other one I love is Don't Keep Your Day Job, but it actually was just rebranded as the Kathy Heller Show.
Oh,
So it was,
yes.
yeah, you've heard of it. So Don't
Yes.
Keep Your Day Job by Kathy Heller. It was just rebranded the Kathy Heller Show. And she's just amazing, again, in the health and wellness space. But so many of her guests are so varied that I just love listening. For me, that's more of my non-work, podcast listening. I just get enjoyment out of it.
Yes. You got to have your business podcast and then your podcasts that are just fun.
Exactly. Balance in life, right? Or
Yes.
synergy, whatever word you prefer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on today. Can you tell the listeners how they can connect with you and work through the three C's with you? Because I
Yes,
know,
of course. Of course. Please. Like I would love to connect with more people. I get energy from interacting with other people and helping other people. I mean, it is the greatest gift when I get to do that, whether it be, with my paid, coaching clients or just through my email list or through my Instagram. I get such joy out of it. So please connect with me if you're listening. My website is www.thegumptionlife.com. And then my handle is the same. So at the Gumption Life, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. And then I also have an awesome health and wellness freebie for people who subscribe to my email list. And I am always giving tons of content to my email list every week. I'm very consistent. Once a week, I send an email, I send a monthly newsletter, I send out tons of freebies. Like this past week, to start off the new year, I gave my followers a 50+ page habit tracker,
wow.
which their feedback has been really awesome. They've loved it. I'm hoping that it helps them stay consistent with their goals in 2022. So yes, please come find me. I would love to interact.
And we will have all the links in the show notes. So go over there so you can connect with Kim. And again, thank you so much for being here. This was a great conversation.
Jillian, thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored. Thank you so much.